Okay, shkoyach, my dear friends, we are back, and we are speaking about the 13 principles, the core principles of our belief. And the order of events is going to be that we're going through the 13 core principles now in short form, and then we're going to go in a much, much deeper explanation of this entire world of the core identity of the Jewish people, that this is really what defines us, and this is what we want to share with all of humanity. And we're up to number 8, which is Ani Mamin be'emunah shleima. I believe with absolute crystal clarity and conviction, Shekol ha-Torah ha-mitzuya ata b'yodeinu, the entire Torah that is now in our hands, Hi hanesuna l'Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, that the entire Torah that's given to us is the Torah that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the authentic Torah. Also, the Rambam points out that because this is the authentic Torah, means every single pasuk is equally important. Don't think there's sections of the Torah where they talk about names. This person was the son of this person, and he begot him, and he begot her. Begot, whatever a begot is. Okay? So, don't think that that's any less important to like Shema Yisrael, or I am the Lord your God that took you out of Egypt. There's nothing such, I'll just cut that part out, or, we don't need that, That seems repetitive, so we'll just take that out. Everything is essential. Every pasuk is every verse equally of value. Very, very, is a core belief. Core belief. Number 9. Number 9 closes the second part of the entire core 13 principles of belief. The first part was the nature of God. The second part is all about authenticity of Torah. And number 9 is the last part within the authenticity of Torah, which is Ani Mamin be'emunah shleima. I believe with absolute clarity and conviction, shezois ha-Torah loy tehei muchlefis v'loy tehei Torah acheres meis ha-boirer yisborach shemoi. With absolute clarity that this Torah will never be exchanged for another Torah from God. That God is not all of a sudden going to change his mind. He's not going to say, there's a better version, a 2.0 version.
A new version.
That's right, a new version. There's one Torah that was given. This is the original, and it will not be exchanged. And we're going to see verses for all of this. We're going to see in the Torah that it speaks about all of these principles, that the Torah will not be exchanged. God sees into the future. God is beyond all time. And God is already informing us that there will be one Torah that will guide humanity to all good things that we want to see for the whole world. This now concludes the section on the authenticity of Torah. Now we go to part 3, which takes us until the end of the 13 principles, which is all about our responsibility and reward in this world. Number 10. Ani mamin be'emunah shleima sheha-boireh yisborach shemoi. I believe with absolute clarity and conviction that Hashem yoidea kol ma'aseh b'nei Adam v'kol machshevosav, that God knows every single one of our deeds and every single one of our thoughts. Shenemar hayoytzer yachad libam hamevin el kol ma'aseim. A pasuk from King David, that God knows everything. He's in our mind right now. He sees everything. He sees it all. Why is that so important? Some people think, God, give me some space. To the opposite, it means that God is so interested in what you're thinking about. He's so interested in you that He's aware of everything. The Rambam explains to us that God knows the creation because He knows Himself. It's a very important have to meditate on that for a little bit. That's all about the unity of God as well. That God knows the creation because he knows himself. Through knowing himself, all of creation is included in that, not separate from God. And you and I are part of that. We're inside of God. Okay? We're going to go into all of these. B'siyat d'shmaya. May Hashem give us a tremendous amount of strength to go through these. My wife was asking me yesterday, she was like, how long is it going to take you to do that? I said, if we really did this properly, a good 5 or 6 years. I'll see how long I could push on with this, But this really is the core of what we need to know. And we're going to see that this formulates the identity of the Jewish people, the core identity of the Jewish people. Number 11, 3 more. I believe with absolute clarity and conviction that Hashem that Hashem rewards good for those that keep his mitzvahs, and the opposite for those who go against God's will. In other words, that there is such a thing of reward and punishment. Your actions matter. Your actions matter. Which also shows you that he believes in you and that you matter. An analogy that we've been speaking about in Shir has been that the king gives people plots of land, and the king says, whatever you want to plant on this land, I'm giving it to you. And after a certain amount of time, whatever you planted is what you'll have. And when the person looks back and says, but is it not fair, like they say. It's not fair. What do you mean? I gave you the land, I gave you the reason. What did you do? Whatever you do, that's what it will be. There shouldn't be surprises. That's the idea. Is that a person will just look back and they'll see whatever I did, whatever work I put in, that's what there is. So we're going to talk about that everyone has a plot of land. The question is just, what did I do? If I went into the plot of land and started cutting down trees, and I'm like, I have nothing to eat. Why were you cutting down the trees? Not a good idea. But if you were planting trees and you were cultivating, that was the word I was looking for. You're cultivating. Even my hand motions, it's like cultivating, nourishing and nurturing the trees. Then you're going to see beautiful fruits. And by the way, what's also pointed out by this is we don't believe that one thing just cancels out other stuff. I did a good thing, but I did this thing, come on. I put on tefillin, so probably that I went to the, squid house. It's probably canceled out, right? It's all good, right? I put on tefillin, I'm good. Okay, we'll look at those as separate things. Tefillin is tefillin, squid is squid, and everything will be dealt with in the proper way. Yes?
What about the idea of im yesh mikvah yesh tikva?
Mikvah means that there's hope that a person can, that he could do tshuva. That's what it means. You're never stuck. A mikvah is like going into the womb, and therefore you could be born again. Number 12, Ani mamin be'emunah shleima, I believe with absolute clarity and conviction, be'bias HaMashiach. That core Jewish belief is that there will be the coming of Mashiach. And the Rambam says, Afal pi sheyitmameh, even though he's not here yet. That's right. Even though, and they were singing this in the camps, they were singing this when we were on the cattle cars, that even though that he may delay, im kol zeh, with all that said, I'm never broken for a second from my absolute conviction, b'chol yom sheyovay, and I'm certain that at any day he could come. At any day, at any moment, he can and he will come. Absolute clarity and conviction, and that's just crazy that on the cattle carts that we're singing that we know that Mashiach will come. Core Jewish belief. It says that Hashem will bring that redemption. Be'ito achishena. In its time sped up. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean, at its time sped up? At its time seems to be like there's a certain time. Sped up means earlier. So the Gemara says that if we're meritorious to it, it'll be sped up, it'll be earlier. If we don't merit it, it means it will come at the end. But you don't want it to come at the end. You want it to come earlier, that we merit the Mashiach's coming. So according to the Rambam and according to all fundamental Jewish belief, if somebody asks you, so when's Mashiach coming? I hope he comes right now. That should be the answer, like today. Not like, oh, I was going to like catch up on like some, I don't know, Beating Bad or something. Is that a show? Breaking Bad. I guess I'm out of it, you know what I'm saying? I'm so out. Okay, like I have to catch up on all my old episodes. Like it's not a good day for Mashiach to come. Like I had stuff planned, stuff going on, I had a dinner engagement, you know. The Chavetz Chaim had a suit and a suitcase under his bed that whenever Mashiach came, he would put on that suit and he would get in a wagon and come to Yerushalayim to greet Mashiach. So I oftentimes ask people, what would you wear if Mashiach came today? I'm saying right now, in your wardrobe, in your closet today, what would you wear? You have like your finest thing, like your Yom Tov suit. Is it clean? Is it in the dry cleaner? Is it like, oh, like I was going to deal with that before, like, you know, Sukkot, like before Rosh Hashanah, I'll get it cleaned. Maybe it's good to keep it cleaned in the cupboard with the plastic thing on it. That it's ready to go. Mashiach comes, what will you wear? What will you wear? Because we live with the belief that at any second he could come. It's very core Jewish belief. Some people don't even know that. Like the Jews, like, really? Like, I didn't know there was that. I didn't grow up with that. Yeah.
Does that mean that it could come without any criteria being met?
There's a lot of criteria that paves the way for Mashiach. But it could happen any day. There's a lot of criteria.
With the criteria being met, meaning it could happen any day.
Hashem could also make it. He can, if Hashem decides that it's achishena, it has to happen. Sometimes that's because the world is spinning too far out of control. There's criteria being met that we earn it. So, do we know exactly if we're earning it? That's not an easy question to answer because only Hashem knows deep into our heart how difficult is it for us to do the mitzvahs that we're doing? How much challenge are we being faced to learn Torah? So that's something that only Hashem could say, that there's so much merit that we're earning it. It was sweet actually at Menachem's bris. So Menachem Herzke made a bris a few days ago. Beautiful. And a lot of tzaddikim there. And Ralph is here, yeah. And then so Ralph got a message the day after the bris, maybe the day of the bris, from somebody who's a friend of ours, Shimi Kaufman, Rabbi Shimi Kaufman, and he was at the bris. He runs a lot of tremendous programming here in Eretz Yisrael, and the message was there was so many Yidden there, and there was such a feeling of unification. So the message to Ralph was, if this is the state of where the Jewish people are at, and this is a microcosm of just the love and the unification and the beauty and the joining together for mitzvahs and the caring for each other, if this is where we're at, then we're going to be okay.
Get the suit ready.
Yeah, then get the suit ready.
Make sure it's black.
Well, no, I actually, mine was going to be a bit blue. I'll tell you that. I told you, don't get so penguiny on me over here, okay? It's like blue with flowers. It's beautiful. Yeah. Come on. I'm waiting for the robes to come back, my friends.
Of course.
I know a guy. If you need a nice Becker shirt, we can get you fitted. But you should think about this as a real thing. Mashiach's going to come. What will I wear? I'm saying practical. We have a bottle of wine.
You have a suit in your wardrobe?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And a bottle of wine. So many tzaddikim had such a thing that they had a bottle of wine. Like the fanciest bottle of wine they could afford. and they would put it in their shelf, and they wrote on it, this is the Mashiach Dike Yayin, this is Mashiach's wine, and when he comes, we'll open up that bottle.
It's also a good business idea.
To sell fancy wine for Mashiach?
Yeah.
That's how the, okay.
Chef wine.
So, but it's got to be good stuff.
Yeah.
And with a good hechsher. You don't want to have a funny hechsher. Mashiach's like, I know it's a good bottle, but like, come on, Truma, Meiser, Orla, not a good look for Mashiach. Okay? Yeah, make sure that it just has, all the, everything, halachically, checked. Okay? So, core belief. Core belief. And the final belief, core belief. And we're going to learn, this is the fabric of our DNA as the Jewish people, and this is really our message that we're here to bring the whole world. Because the whole world is part of this journey with us. We're all in this together. Ani mamin be'emunah shleima, I believe with absolute conviction, crystal clear conviction, shetiyeh tchiyas hamesim, that there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. I'm amazed how many Jews say that I didn't even know we believe in the resurrection. I grew up more in a Reform community, and people I speak to, they say, we believe in that? A resurrection of the dead? Core belief. Core belief. Be'ez shel yale rotzen meisa boire, when Hashem decides that it should be so, Yisborach Shemoi, v'yisala, zichroi lo'ad ulanetzach nitzachim. And that will be a resurrection that will happen. There's a lot of details. There'll be 2 resurrections, one at the time of Mashiach, another one before the world to come. Core fundamental belief. Okay? These are the 13 principles that define us. We're going to start going through them, but before we do that, we're going to give a little bit more context of where we get these from before we go individually into each one, because this is the basics, and that we want to make sure that everybody's holding in this. Yes, Yosef.
As far as the resurrection of the dead goes, once it happens, if you could put together a minion of your top 10 all-time favorite tzaddikim, who would be in your minion when the resurrection of the dead happens?
The Rambam probably one of them, right?
These are very hard questions. Like, how do you, is it like generational? Is it like a Tanaic, is it Amoraic? Rishonim? Anybody? What if somebody's a Gilgal of somebody else? Does that count as 1 or 2? Do I need to have 2?
It's a big problem.
Yeah, these are...
And there may be people that you'd rather put there before even those.
That's right. It could be that maybe, so to speak, like
A spouse.
That's right. People that maybe wouldn't be what you might call on the podium of tzaddikim, but family members, loved ones, parents, that you just feel that I would want you to be in my minion. So...
See, as much as I'm going to love my future spouse, I don't know if I'm going to have a co-ed minion when the resurrection of the dead happens. It's going to be very sneeze, my minion.
I appreciate that. But, she also is going to be davening. So, it's a very, very beautiful question. I can just tell you one thing. I always think about the Ben Ish Chai. I just think a lot about the Ben Ish Chai. For whatever reason, I feel like I just want to daven with the Ben Ish Chai. The others we'll have to talk about another time.
Do you ever put this into our prayer? Like it's in the Art Scroll Siddur, which has everything, obviously, the complete version, of course. But
yes.
Do we ever daven this?
So we're going to learn about this, is that some of this comes up through the davening itself. And we're davening for this. Yes, it's all woven into the davening. And we're going to start pointing out where. So, the Rambam lists these 13 things, that these are the core beliefs, essentially to be part of what's called Klal Yisrael. This is part of the entire series that we're talking about, of that people are talking in the world, who are the Jews? So this is the makeup, this is the DNA, the fabric of who we are. And these are the things that are the core, it's like essential organs. This is the core identity of who we are. These are concepts that are found, it's amazing, we're learning this also in our morning shir, in Perek HaChelek, where the Mishnah speaks about these are the people that have a share in the world to come. And then it starts going through the things that are the requisite states of consciousness and the requisite belief systems that position a person to go there. Okay? Now, I want to explore something, which we're going to probably start tomorrow, which is that these 13 concepts are deeply linked to an event that happened to the Jewish people. Very deeply linked. These 13 principles of absolute belief and consciousness are linked to what we call Yetzias Mitzrayim, the leaving of Egypt. Meaning the entire belief system that we have in the way God created the world, runs the world, what the role of communication with humanity is through the Torah and through prophecy, to that my actions mean something. All of this was spoken about through the experience of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And we're actually going to see the verses, the psukim, that they come from, which is amazing, because you see in the Torah speaking about these 13 principles and the core of these principles. Okay? I'm going to mention a few psukim that also link core connection to Hashem with Yetzias Mitzrayim. The first we all know is the first of the 10 Commandments. What's the first of the 10 Commandments? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God, Asher Hotzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that I took you out of the land of Egypt. It's an amazing thing. God is creating the context for reality. God exists. He's sharing that with us. And then he's pointing out, do you want to see how my existence relates to you? Through coming out of Egypt. Which means my existence is going to be communicated to you through the entire journey of coming out of Mitzrayim. That's why we're so into it. Not because we have this, like slaves can't get over there's it's like they're like slave mentality, and we're still harping on old slave stuff.
Reparations.
Yeah, that's right. Give us the reparations, the old slave stuff. That's not what it is. Is that the relationship core belief of who we are and what we represent was actually forged through the experience of going down into Mitzrayim, which was already foretold that you're going to go down to Egypt as a small family, and you're going to come out a nation, and you're going to be built through that experience. You're going to be built, and our relationship is going to be built through that experience, and it's going to culminate in the giving of the Torah. And that's why really Passover doesn't end after 7 days. Passover ends how many days later? On the 50th day when we receive the Torah. That's really the end of that experience and that journey. And by the way, when does that Mount Sinai experience end?
40 days later.
40 days later, because Moshe Rabbeinu was up for 40 days, which we're in that time right now, by the way. And that ends on the 17th day of Tammuz. And Moshe Rabbeinu comes down, and he sees that there was an egel. But Aaron says something very profound. He says, Chag Lashem Machar. There will be a great holiday tomorrow. So the Sfarim say that Aaron was prophesizing that that day was supposed to be a very, very high day. The day that Moshe is bringing down the first tablets. Chag Lashem Machar means in the future, prophetically, the 17th day of Tammuz is going to be, today is the first day of Tammuz, is going to be a wondrous holiday. It's going to be a very, very high day. Just like Tisha B'Av is going to be, it's called a Moyed. We don't say Tachanon on Tisha B'Av. Did you know that? Which is strange. I thought you don't say Tachanon on happy days. So why don't we say it on Tisha B'Av? Because Tisha B'Av has this great hidden light. It also says that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. So if you guys December baby. It means, now, and don't worry, you can still be in the running. It either means that he's actually born, or it means that he's like awakened. That's also a type of birth. You're like, I'm still in it. Okay, December baby's okay. Okay? The Gemara says what his name is, says different options. Okay? And, but what that means is that the Mount Sinai experience continues. And there's different phases of the experience. And then we begin again on a deeper cycle once we get into Elul. And then Elul begins the next phase of going through the journey of getting ready for Mount Sinai once again. Okay? Tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, we're going to start seeing the psukim inside that will link all these core beliefs, these fundamental core beliefs, to Yetzias Mitzrayim. We're going to see where they all show up within the Chumash, all these 13 core beliefs in the Chumash. And we're going to start to build the entire framework of essentially living in an existence with these 13 principles all together, all the time. That these are 13 frames of consciousness that we're always seeing the world through. And the things that we're going to be working on our whole life, going deeper and deeper into that experience. And we should be Zoycha Mamish to live this. Because this really is what a Jew is this. I think, yes,
Why is it not?
I know.
It should be like the 10 Commandments, the 13 principles.
It should be, and that's why we're doing it. It should be. The world's a funny place, and sometimes the thing that's the main thing, I once heard someone say very nice, they say, in life you have to keep the main thing the main thing. We have a good time at making the main thing not the main thing. We make other stuff the main thing. It's a world where not the main thing becomes the main thing, and the main thing becomes like somewhat of not the main thing anymore. The ikr becomes the tuffle becomes the ikr. And I think we grew up, many of us, in a world where, I don't know, I thought being a Jew was lox and cream cheese, and something, like that. And there's a few funny guys with, fur hats on their head, and I didn't really know. I never got into it.
This morning, he said something like, Jews are interested in learning about everything else except for being Jewish.
It's so, right? Because I think many of us grew up that way. We never saw that there was this deep, amazing value. Right. That all that we're talking about is consciousness. We thought, tradition, and like these funny things. And then you actually get into it and you realize this is serious. This is deeply rational, logical, and profound. And
a lot of supporting information. There's documentation.
Correct.
It's there.
Tons of resources, primary source material. It's codified, cross-referenced many, many, many times going up the chain. I think it's a funny world, and the Yetzer Hara does a good job at hiding things from us. And that's how Rabbi Noach Weinberg of blessed memory made Eshet Torah, is to give back the destiny of what Torah has for the Jewish people and for the world, to give it back and to build a place where we can exactly share these things, because this is what we're giving to our kids. This is what's going to bring the world to its destiny, is sharing this. This is what we've been entrusted with and in charged with to accomplish. And we daven to Hashem that we could be, it's called shluchim ne'emonim. We could be trustworthy emissaries and ambassadors to bring this Torah to the world. And we hope that if the deeper we could learn this and the more we can embody it, then we could share these beautiful things with all of humanity. We should be zoyah to this. Amen.
Amen.
Kol tuv.